In the fluid kinematics, we'll discuss the streamline, path line, streak line, stream function, velocity potential, flow nets, rotational and irrotational flow. So deformation of a fluid element. There are four types of deformation of a fluid element. First is pure translation, that the element initially present here will be simply get translated. Second is we have rotation about its own axis, that is about the spin. So initially we have element here and it is going to rotate about its center. Third is angular deformation here, which is going to cause the shear strain. So one of the edges here will be get elongated. And finally we have linear deformation, that is the formation of a linear strain. So in this case the fluid element will either elongate along the x direction or along the y direction. So let's discuss this translation, rotation about its own axis, angular deformation and the linear deformation. Normally the pure translation of element will take place when we have the velocity component along the x direction and y direction are independent of x and y. That is, these are the constant value. So what does it indicate? That the velocity remain constant along the x direction and the velocity also remain constant along the direction. So derivative of u with respect to x will be 0 and derivative of v with respect to y is also equal to 0. So there are no gradients along the x direction and y direction. So whatever the simple element we have here is get translated by distance equal to u multiplied by delta t. When we say u multiplied by delta t, then it's a simple displacement by 10 units along the x direction, and v dt, it means that the element is displaced along the y direction as phi u multiplied by delta t, that is the phi unit. So element shape will not change in this case. So there will be neither any change in the physical dimension of the element and not the include angle. So dimensions are remain same and even the angle is initially 90. So after displaced position, is angle is also equal to 90. Now let's consider the case of linear deformation and the translation. This time u is a function of x only and v is a function of y only. U is the velocity along the x direction and is a function of x only, and v is a velocity along the y direction is a function of y only. Let's say for example we have u is equal to x square plus 2x plus 10. So this time u is a function of x. V is equal to y square plus 5. So v is a function of y. So in the term of del u by del x and del v by del y, we have only the x component is present here, and in the case of dv by dy only y component is present. So initially we have element set here at origin having dimension equal to dx and dy. Because of this term present here, that is del u by del x and del v by del y, the final dimension has been changed. So initial dimension is dx, change in dimension is del u by del x into delta x multiplied by delta t, and similarly we have y dimension change is del v by del y into dy into delta t. So this time we define the strain along the x direction and y direction. So strain along the x direction is defined as the change in the dimension, that is del u by del x into dx into delta t divided by the original dimension equal to dx. So dx and dx will be get cancel here, and in that case we have the strain rate, that is epsilon x divided by delta t, that is called as the strain rate along the x direction, is simply del u by del x. So del u by del x represent here the rate of strain along the x direction. Almost same treatment we can do for y direction. We have epsilon y is equal to del v by del y, that is the change in the y dimension, del v by del y into dy into dt divided by dy. Again dy and dy will get cancelled. Dt is arranged in the denominator of epsilon y. In that case we have strain rate along the y direction is given by epsilon dot y equal to del v by del y. In a straightforward language, the rate of strain along the x direction is del u by del x. The strain along the y direction is del v by del y. Angular deformation of a fluid element. So this time initially we have an angle equal to 90, and after the deformation the angle will become gamma. So this edge is deformed by angle equal to d alpha and this edge is deformed by angle equal to d beta. This time the shear strain will be defined as the rate of change of angle, that is gamma with respect to dt, which is consist of two angle that equal to d alpha by dt plus d beta by dt. Angular deformation of a fluid element is possible only when u is a function of both x and y and v is also function of x and y. Because to calculate the value here we require both the derivative, that is the partial derivative of u with respect to x and partial derivative of u with respect to y, as well as the partial derivative of v with respect to x and the partial derivative of v with respect to y. So in the case of angular deformation of a fluid element which results from the change in the angles between two mutually perpendicular lines in the fluid element, let's check here how the equation of rate of shear strain will come. So in the angular deformation here, we can very well calculate the angle d alpha, which will be same as del v by del x into dx into dt, and we can very well calculate the angle d beta here, which is del u by del y into dy into del t. So this time we can define d alpha as a opposite upon adjacent, that is a very small angle, so we'll take in radian. Opposite side is del v by del x into dx into del t, adjacent side is dx and dx is cancelled. So we can very well calculate here d alpha, which is equal to del v by del x into del t. Similar to this, we can calculate d beta using this relation, and we obtain d beta equal to del u by del y into del t. Therefore, the rate of shear strain is defined as gamma dot xy, which is equal to d beta by del t plus d alpha by del t, which is same as del v by del x plus del u by del y. So when it is xy, then you have to take the derivative of u with respect to y, and when you have to take the derivative of v, you have to take it with respect to x. So simply you have to write down this xy. So we have x and we have y. Along x we have velocity is u, along y we have to take the velocity equal to v. So simply take the cross product here, that is del v by del x, and second is del u by del y. So in this fashion you can remember this. Let's consider here how to write the shear strain along the xy. So this time x and y you can show these two axes, x and y. Along x you can show velocity u, along y you can show velocity v, and then take the cross here, that is del v by del x and del u by del y. If you are interested to write down the shear strain along the plane xz, so on x direction you show the velocity equal to v, along the z direction show the velocity equal to w. In that case we can take the cross here, that is del u by del z plus del w by del x. And if you are interested along the shear strain along the yz plane, in that case you have to show y and z two axes. Along the y you have to show v velocity, along z you have to show w, and then we can write down the shear strain along yz plane will be equal to del v by del z plus del w by del y. One more term involved in the deformation of a fluid element is called as volumetric dilation. The rate of change of volume per unit volume is called as volumetric dilation and is defined as derivative of change in volume by dt divided by original volume. So we have volumetric dilation is given as 1 by del v, derivative of change in volume with respect to del t. So let's consider here ABCD is the original element, has a dimension equal to dx, dy, dz. dz is not shown, which is perpendicular to the plane. So we have original volume is equal to dx into dy into dz, and the change in volume we can compute from this side, which is equal to, along the x direction this time is shown, is equal to del u by del x dx dt into dy dz. So this change will be observed along the x direction is del u by del x into dx by dt. So in that case we have volumetric dilation will be equal to the change in volume divided by the original volume, which is equal to del u by del x. So this computation is done along the x-axis. Same computation we can do along the y-axis and z-axis. In that case we have total volumetric dilation is simply given as del u by del x plus del v by del y plus del w by del z. So this right hand side term is same as the continuity equation in the three-dimensional flow. In the case of incompressible fluid where the deformation not at all possible, in that case we have this total value, that is the sum, will be equal to 0 and the volumetric dilation will be equal to 0. So they can ask the question that if the material is incompressible and they give the value of del v and w, in that case you are able to calculate the value of u component. We have seen the angular deformation of a fluid element. Just same equations are used, except positive sign you have to use the negative sign here. So omega z represents here the angular velocity about the z axis, which is taken as the average of the angular velocity omega a and omega ob, that is about the x axis and y axis. But one value is clockwise and other is negative. So we have omega z will be equal to 1 by 2 del v by del x minus of del u by del y. This one is clockwise, this one is anti-clockwise, and this one is clockwise. So therefore one side is taken as positive and other is negative. When we have omega x, so omega x you can write down simply on the basis of gamma x. Remember here, if you want to write down omega x here, so you have to prefer here gamma yz. Gamma yz can be written as del w by del y plus the other velocity will be equal to, along the y direction, is del v by del z. So once you remember the shear strain along the yz, so perpendicular to this one will be our omega x. The only difference is that you have to make this sign equal to negative. So likewise we can write from for omega y also. So total angular velocity vector is given as omega xi plus omega yj plus omega zk. Whenever you have to find out the vorticity and you have to check the condition for rotationality, in that case you have to define the vorticity vector zeta bar or omega bar. In that case we have omega bar is equal to, just you have to take the curl of v, and once using the curl we can develop the equation that we have curl is equal to 2 times of omega xi plus 2 times of omega yj plus 2 times of omega zk. Just now we have seen the definition of omega x, omega y and omega z. So whenever we want here that it should be irrotational flow, in that case the curl should be equal to 0. If the curl is equal to 0, then individually omega x and omega y and omega z are equal to 0. If any one of this value is not equal to 0, it is called as rotational flow. So in the case of rotational flow, the curl will not be equal to 0. And in the examination they will ask you that what is the condition for irrotational flow along the xy plane. So you have to consider the third dimension, that equal to z, and the condition becomes that the omega z should be equal to 0. So from this equation we can write the condition, that is del v by del x must equal to del u by del y. Circulation is defined as the line integral of a tangential component of a velocity along a closed loop. So here VL represents the velocity component tangent to the line element dl here, and we have a circulation is given as cyclic integral of a dot product of velocity vector multiplied by dl, or simply here the VL is equal to omega multiplied by r. If it is a circulation angular velocity equal to omega, then the linear velocity will be given as omega into r, and for circular ring which is L equal to, that is the total length, will be equal to 2 pi r. So for small circular two-dimensional element of radius equal to r, the vorticity is given as the circulation divided by area. Circulation is the product of VL into L, that equal to 2 times of pi omega into r square, and the circular area is pi r square, that will be same as 2 times of omega square. So vorticity, which is equal to 2 times of omega bar, is same as omega. The concept of streamline, pathline and streak lines are very important in the fluid kinematics, because using this one we can define the stream function and the velocity potential, and then we can describe the flow through the given net. So streamlines here is an imaginary line to which the velocity is always tangent at any instant. The fluid particle do not cross this line. This is called as streamline. And if we have here a circular cylinder is placed, and the one of the streamline will going to strike exactly at center, and the velocity will become 0. In that case, the given point here is called as the stagnation point. At the stagnation point we have velocity u equal to 0, as well as v equal to 0, as well as w equal to 0. To develop the equation of a streamline, you have to take the cross product of the change in particle position, that is dr, multiplied by the velocity vector v bar. If you take this cross product and if equated to 0, we can develop the condition for streamlines, and the streamline conditions are generated like this, that we have dx by u, dv by v, the third term will be equal to dz by w. So using this one we can form the equation of streamline, that is dx by u equal to dv by v equal to dz by w. All the three terms you have to use in a three-dimensional, otherwise we can solve the problem whether you are given the value of u, v or w. If you draw the number of streamlines here, that is actually become a parallel path here, and using this parallel path we can form a concept of a stream tube, and the no streamline will cross this way. So it is exactly the idea of a pipe. In the case of converging path, the streamlines will converge. For the steady flow, the path line, streak line and the streamlines are identical lines. Another kinematic tool we have is a stream function, which is represented by psi, and the stream function psi is a scalar function such that its partial derivative with respect to any direction gives the velocity component at right angles to that direction and will satisfy the continuity equation. But the stream function is only defined because of the given definition of a constraint for two-dimensional. So we have u component along the x direction, v component along the y direction. So if we partially differentiate this with respect to x, we'll get the velocity perpendicular to it. So we have del psi by del x equal to v, and we have del psi by del y equal to minus v. This will satisfy the continuity equation, which is given as del u by del x plus del v by del y equal to 0. So if we substitute for this definition of psi, another way to satisfy the continuity equation is minus of del square psi by del x dy. So purposefully here the negative sign is used to satisfy the continuity equation. As far as the physical meaning of the stream function is considered, suppose we have a section shown here through which we have elemental flow rate equal to dq. So this flow rate will be same as the flow rate going through the perpendicular to x direction and perpendicular to y direction. So we have a stream function equal to psi 1 here. Second stream function we can write as psi 1 plus d psi. And this time if we check here the dq value, which is same as u multiplied by dy multiplied by 1 is the width here, and this quantity is downward, therefore we have taken the negative sign. So don't get confused with the negative sign, it is just a direction shown here. Suppose I have shown like this one, then one component of q will be positive and other component is also positive. So this time the definition will come as a positive component of v. So velocity multiplied by area will be called as discharge, and similarly we have the elemental discharge, the u multiplied by dy and minus of v multiplied by dx. So u is nothing but here as per definition is d psi by dy. So dy and dy will get cancelled, and this value also we have can replace for v as d psi by dx. Finally we have dq equal to minus of d psi. So that is the total derivative here. The physical meaning of the stream function is that it will calculate the discharge per unit width. In the Cartesian system, the stream function if differentiate with respect to x will give the velocity v, and the stream function if differentiate with respect to y will give the velocity u, and one of the value we have to take negative to satisfy the continuity equation. Whereas in the radial or the polar system, we have a two component is Vr and V theta. So if we partially differentiate here the stream function with respect to theta, we have to take the value as R into Vr, and if you partially differentiate here with respect to radial direction R, in that case you have to take minus of V theta. As far as omega z is considered, we know that omega z is given by 1 by 2 del v by del x minus del u by del y equal to 0 in the case of irrotational flow. So we have del u by del y is equal to del v by del x. In that case we can substitute for u as minus of del psi by del y, and you can substitute for v as del psi by del x. In that case what you observe here is that the minus of del square psi by del y square equal to del square by del x square. If you want to write down the condition for a stream function to be irrotational flow, you simply partial differentiate your stream function with respect to x and with respect to y. That is, we have del square phi, which is the Laplace equation, must equal to 0. If this equation is satisfied, we can conclude here that it is a irrotational flow. So stream function can be well defined in the case of rotational as well as irrotational flow. Here I have given you the condition to check for irrotational flow. Similar to the stream function, we have one more function that equal to phi, which is called as velocity potential, and this function is normally only exists if the flow is irrotational, is not defined in the case of rotational flow. So for irrotational flow, the velocity potential function phi is a scalar function of a space and time, and its negative derivative with respect to any direction gives the velocity component in that direction. If we partially differentiate here the velocity potential with respect to x, we will get the velocity along the x direction equal to u. If we have partial differentiation of psi with respect to y, you will get a velocity along the same y direction equal to v. And both terms are taken as negative. The minus sign in this equation arises from the convention that the velocity potential decreases in the direction of flow just as the electrical potential decreases in the direction in which the current flows. Here the velocity potential can be well defined for 3-dimensional as well as 2-dimensional, but the stream function is only defined for 2-dimensional. And if you join all these lines of a velocity potential, this is called as equipotential lines. We have velocity potential. If differentiate with respect to x will give the velocity u, and if we differentiate velocity potential phi with respect to y, we'll get the velocity equal to v. Suppose this line here indicate a constant velocity potential equal to phi, then we have d phi will be equal to 0. That is the total derivative of velocity function equal to 0, and in this case we have a slope is given by dy by dx. So we have total derivative of phi is given as del phi by del x into dx plus del phi by del y into dy. Using this definition we can write the total derivative equal to 0 is del phi by del x is same as minus of u. So we have minus of u multiplied by dx plus del phi by del y is equal to minus of v multiplied by dy. So using this we'll get u dx is equal to minus v times dy. And what we are interested in the slope is given by dy by dx for constant velocity potential function. Let's say this slope equal to m1. So we have u divided by v, but the slope is negative, that is minus u by v. Whereas if we partial differentiate the stream function with respect to y, we get the velocity u, and we are using here minus sign to satisfy the continuity equation. If the partial derivative of psi, that is the stream function with respect to x, we get the velocity equal to v. Suppose we have a constant value of stream function. In that case we have partial derivative of d psi equal to 0. This total derivative of d psi can also be written as del psi divided by del x into dx plus del psi by del y into dy. So since we have the d phi equal to 0, we have del psi by del x is equal to v is a positive value into dx, and del psi by del y is negative value of u multiplied by dy. So this time we have a slope is dy by dx for constant stream function, let's say equal to m2 is equal to. So this time we've shifted, it is a positive slope and is given as v divided by u. Now since here m1 and m2, that is the product of two slope is minus 1, so it means that the streamline and the velocity potential lines are always orthogonal. So this time if this one is the velocity potential, then the stream function will be perpendicular to it. So this one is the equation of stream function, that is they always cut orthogonally. Since here we have u is equal to minus of del pi by del x and v is equal to minus of del pi by del y, in that case if we write for omega z, which is equal to 1 by 2 del v by del x minus del u by del y, and if we substitute for del v by del x using this equation, del u by del y, so what we get is minus of del square phi by del x del y plus del square phi by del x del y. So this quantity is always equal to 0. So it clearly indicates that whenever we have a velocity potential, it means that the flow is always irrotational, that is guaranteed. But that is not true in the case of stream function. In the case of stream function, the flow can be rotational or flow can be irrotational. Sometimes they will ask you to calculate the acceleration of a fluid element. So this time here u is a function of x, y, z, t, that is the space coordinate as well as the time. So this time we have a generalized expression of u with respect to space and time. So total derivative of u with respect to time can be obtained by chain derivative, that is del u by del x multiplied by del x by del t, plus we have del u by del y multiplied by del y by del t. Using this term we can complete this equation, and the last term is del u by del t. So here du by dt is nothing but ax, which is equal to du by dt, and we can very well write here dx by dt equal to u, dy by dt equal to v, dz by dt equal to w. So first three terms here is u into del u by del x plus v into del u by del y plus w into del u by del z. Remember here we have u, v, w, and since we have x, u will repeat everywhere, and then you have to take the derivative along x, y, z. That is called as convective acceleration. And the last term here, which is dependent on the time function, is called as local acceleration. So if we know the definition of x, we can very well copy down for ay. So same term you have to write down u, v, w. This time we have to take the partial derivative of v with respect to x, v with respect to y, and v with respect to z. Same thing you have to copy down for z also. So if we have a steady and uniform flow, in that case steady means that the derivative with respect to time is 0, and when we say uniform, it means that the derivative with respect to x, y, z will be equal to 0. So in that case all these derivative will vanish because these are the function of x, y, z in the case of uniform, and when we have steady, the derivative with respect to time is also vanish. In that case, for steady and uniform flow, we have 0 convective acceleration and 0 local acceleration. When we have a steady and non-uniform, in that case one of these derivative will exist because we say non-uniform, and when we say steady, so this value, that is the local, will be equal to 0. For unsteady, this value will exist, and the uniform flow, this value will become 0. So whenever we say uniform, convective will be equal to 0. So for uniform, convective is always equal to 0. For non-uniform, the convective is not equal to 0. And when we say steady, then the local will be equal to 0, and when we say unsteady, then the local is not equal to 0. This is how the words are defined. The video you are watching is from the app, which is the More Class app available on Google Store. And in this app, we'll cover all subjects involved in mechanical engineering for GATE. Join the course directly from your mobile. The link is given here.